Hello, everyone, and this is 11th episode of Pajama Talks, and today our guest is Daniejela. Hi, Daniejela.
Hi, Evgeny. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself. What do you do, and who is Daniejela?
So I'm a longtime product manager who has been round and about across different industries in different markets, building different kinds of products. So about 3 years ago, I moved to Prague. When I moved to Prague, I was looking for some kind of a product community because that was something that I knew from before. That was something where I got to know a lot of people. I got to learn a lot of things. And moving here, I was looking for something of that kind. And then some time ago, a colleague of yours contacted me about some event that was, I don't think it happened for whatever reason. I don't think it was pandemic. I think it was something else. I don't remember. But we agreed to stay in touch in case there would be another opportunity to do something about this product software engineering community. And a few months later, we met each other, and I came here to talk to you a bit about, building products all over the place.
Product managers. So what do you do, and what product managers in general do on a daily basis?
One does as a product manager depends on many things. It depends what kind of a product you're building for what kind of a market. It depends on let's say, stage in which your product is in. Is this a startup? Is this some sort of a midlife product? Or is this a product that you're looking to scale and to grow from some healthy base? It also depends a lot on, is this a B2B kind of product? Is this a B2C kind of product, etc. So there are many, I will not say constraints, but things that influence what is it exactly that you do every day. If this is a new product that we need to introduce to the market, of course, most of your activities during the day will be focused around the product market fit, looking into, who is this for? Why would they care about it? What should this be for them to care about it, etc. When you're somewhere further down the building road, then majority of your day would be focused on not only building the right thing, but building things right. How do we add value on top of what we already have so that we can grow, so that we can be relevant, etc. Then further down the line, if you're building or trying to scale a mature product, it becomes, I think, a lot about reinventing and lifting one level up what you're doing. So over there, it might be even more of a some sort of a growth strategy, scaling work, trying to look for that edge. How do you grow and how do you sustain what you have? So typically, during the day, I will spend a lot of time talking to people from different functions in the company, be it sales, be it marketing, be it engineering, be it other product managers. This is where a lot of time goes for me currently. But like I said, that differed before depending on where the product that I was working on, which phase was it in.
Should product manager have a technical background, or can it be, can you be a product manager from other management, like for example you were a salesperson, or someone from the marketing department?
I think the level of technical knowledge that might be required depends a lot on the team that you're working with. If you have a senior enough and experienced team, then how things are built is not your worry to worry about. And in this case, a product manager can be more product user oriented.
Do you have technical background, or maybe You ever thought, okay, maybe I should go there and learn some coding stuff?
I didn't study computer science and I never worked as a programmer. If that's what defines the technical background, I'm an anthropologist by education. Recently, a colleague of mine made a joke. He told me, like, Daniejela, could you please go study computer science just for the sake of entertaining me? I will not. I don't think I will, but it was interesting that somebody thought this is something that I should do, and this is something that would be entertaining. That's the bit that got my attention. Why would that be entertaining if I went to study computer science? Can I ask you the same question? What do you think about product managers? Because I know that you must be working with product managers as well. What do you think as an engineer is technical background, however we define that, required for somebody to be a successful product manager?
I think that in this scale, we have two extremes, like super high product / engineer, and on the other part of the scale, we have product / more manager. And I think the crucial thing here is respect between both parts, like engineering and products, and credibility and trust between them. So, for example, engineering product managers, if they don't trust their teams, they will try to dig into the code and make do a lot of things by themselves, and it's not scalable enough.
In the end, no matter what we as professionals bring to the table, when all of that is removed and cleared out, the fundamental thing that stays is trust. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter what's on the top of this, what kind of backgrounds, experiences, how we split the work. It just doesn't matter if people don't trust each other. So I'm glad you mentioned that because it didn't occur to me to talk about trust. Because you got me talking about computer science, but it's very nice that you brought it to the discussion.
What do you think about other part of the equation? Because from my experience, it should be some kind of a tension between product and engineers, because product managers, they usually tend to focus on delivery. Like, we want to pack as more features as we should and can in one release. And in engineers, they sometimes tend to be more perfectionists, and they be like, okay, I want to polish this feature for years because it's this tiny little piece of code is not perfect enough. All parts of the system, they have own goals, and they balance each other.
There are different schools of thought about what should the relationship between product and engineering look like. Some of them are leaning more towards this conflict and contrast, thinking that the good results will be born there. Some are inclined more towards we get along, we work together well, we don't conflict, we just, figure things out on the way. And there's everything in between. To be quite honest, I do not have a strong opinion about how this relationship should be per se. I do, however, have a strong opinion about some of the values that I care about, that I like to have in my team, between my colleagues, the aforementioned trust, transparency, and respect. For me, the outcomes. What is it that we want to achieve? And are we on the same page, so to say, about what is it that we want to achieve? Do we want to get out as soon as possible so that we learn from the market? Is this the right thing to build? Do we want to get out whenever we get out as something as perfected as possible so that we beat the competition? Do we want to, what is it that we want to achieve? And I think this should ultimately guide the decisions. How do we build things? Exactly how you describe these two stereotypes. I've seen it, I've lived it, and now when I look back at some of those things, it's almost like an anecdote. I can tell you one of those if you'd like, because it just came to my mind. You were describing the perfected piece of software that an engineer cares about and the product manager who wants to release as soon as possible. Some years ago, I was working with a rather large engineering team on a rather large and important project that was sort of a replacement for something existing. We're going to take that away and put new, better, faster thing instead of that. But the amount of people we had on the old product was huge. So we worked on this for about a year and a half, and the launch day comes. And of course, it is in my interest to launch on that date. And of course, there was a lot of pressure. And of course, all the marketing material, everything, the full show was ready to go. The load tests did not do their job. So the launch moment comes. We launch, everything collapses, we roll back.
Wow.
So we processed that event, agreed what do we do. The engineering went to do what they need to do, and I'm sitting at my desk. I'm processing what just happened and telling myself, okay, we'll fix it, everything will be fine. And I see the VP of engineering walking towards my desk down the office, and he comes to my table and he leans over to me and he almost whispers on my ear, "I've heard you launched for a second," and he just leaves. I think it was one of those occasions where people try to use humor to just feel better overall about something bad that happened. I think that's what he did.
I can tell you another story. It's not a story, but kind of thing that we tried to balance some kind of like engineering and product management. We introduced two metrics to balance each other. One, if it was kind of product value. So, the story points from Scrum, like we kind of try to understand what is the velocity of the team in feature complexity. Yeah, we use Fibonacci numbers and we kind of measure it. And we decided why not to do the same. So we decided that product manager itself, him or herself, will say, okay, this feature is 5 value points or 5 user points. One, it's for example to rename something that affects users. It's nice to rename this thing, but it's not much of a value. And because this product is kind of constant, we can say that those values, they're constant too. The value of the team is how much value we delivered on production during this quarter, for instance. And for example, this huge user feature would, it's 50 user points, and this small renaming is 5 user points. So that's like this. But to balance it, because then if we introduce some metric, everyone would like to kind of like make this bigger and to deliver more and more on production, and to kind of balance it out with the quality. Another metric was just the defects on production, like how many bugs we have in production, like criticals or middle level. And those two metrics kind of balancing each other. And if you don't know how to measure your team, you can try to use this framework, because it's a product value and quality of the code.
I have another question. Now I'm going to ask you, as that stereotypical product manager, as you imagine the delivery. My question is, did you maybe see or come across some good ways on how to hack productivity? I'm asking if you maybe recognized some, I will use a somewhat unfortunate term, productivity hacks. Did you notice some kind of motivation hacks with your engineers where nobody performs like in a flat line. People always perform like that. And I'm wondering if there's something hidden somewhere over there that we just didn't figure out yet as people who want to build good software.
First thing is, I think, amount of connections between people, between parts of the equation, because usually our work is some kind of like a convey. So we're beginning from the research phase, we're moving to the some development phase, then we test it, then we put this on production with I don't know, DevOps team or delivery team if you have different team. And of course, most productivity you can achieve if you will work alone. If you are like on a startup and you start up with one person, and of course you don't have to spend time on connecting developers to the product managers, all these mock-ups. Okay, we forgot to this one, let's move to the research phase and other stuff. And again, inside engineering we have the same. Okay, I will pass this task to quality assurance. Okay, quality assurance, return this. Amount of connections in the big teams, you can imagine. If you have 10 people, you have to connect each other to each other. Toyota, of course, they were obsessed with productivity, and we know this book, Lean and Toyota, and they have this spaghetti diagrams, spaghetti graphs. If you and they used it for factories to understand if we have, okay, in this part of the factory task or like product, how to use it. You just draw a diagram with all people in your team, for example, if you want to understand productivity of the team. And you just have to watch on some tasks how they go from one person to other person, and just draw a thin line. And it looks like a spaghetti, and that's because it's called spaghetti graphs. And if you on some part of the workflow, you would have a lot of spaghettis, like lunch or brunch, or how they call it, or dinner of spaghetti. It means that something is wrong, and we have too much connections.
This is where we should look for those hacks and shortcuts.
I think so, yeah. And another part is, of course, motivation. And we're it's a nice and smooth transition to other part of our discussion. It's online. Because motivation in online is kind of different from offline and remote working. Because Atlassian, they released their research on effect of online working, remote first, and other things. This pandemic situation, and one of the things they've learned that in online world, your motivation kind of decreases, and it's obvious. But the thing is that you're less connected to people that you work with.
There is another emerging trend, if you'd like, in this online shift to remote work and seeing each other's online exclusively. Companies seem to be recognizing more and more that employee productivity is not only about the right tools and enablement, but it is also about the employee well-being. So not only from 9 to 5 during my, let's say, work hours, but my well-being in principle, because all of a sudden people are juggling their work life in combination with and it's all just a mash of things that you have to process every day. Recently, I spoke to a friend of mine. She asked me a few questions, and something was interesting. She asked me if I've noticed anybody getting more aggressive since we've shifted to, again, seeing each other's only online. She's working with an institute in Germany. They're doing some research, trying to see if they can pick up change in the behavior and mood via the camera, to see what's going on over there. And I can't say that I noticed any increase in the level of aggression. And I even asked a couple of friends, a couple of colleagues, hey, is something going on? Nobody identified something going on. The fact, the pixels, you're just pixels on my screen, right? But then my friend explained to me the motivation for this research. The fact is that when we see each other on the screen, we are somehow in each other's face. And we spend hours every day in the front of this screen where somebody or something is in your face all day long. And their hypothesis is that this could push some buttons and that some kind of aggression might occur in meetings and behavior. So it was just interesting to me. So there is an impact. You're completely right. But I don't think anybody has a definitive answer. What is it? And how are we going to go on with that in the future?
You said about a level of aggression in online world, and I can think about it because first of all, I think it's really hard. It's really hard to because empathy, right? You can understand other people, you can understand their feelings. It is really hard to have empathy for a screen because you don't have this. The picture is really flat. You have only visual information from your the person that you speak with, and maybe audio, but because of the delays, because audio is not synchronized with video exactly, so it is really hard to. It's kind of part of the schizophrenia because you're sitting here in your room alone, and you have to imagine, you have to pretend that there are other person there, and billions years of evolution, they like, okay, we don't understand that. Your brain is telling you you're sitting in your room alone and speaking with the empty space. So I think it is really hard to be empathic for like in online world.
You made a very interesting point now, something that's been occupying my anthropological mind for a while, and I will pitch it to you now as a psychology student with computer science background, and maybe you can make something out of it. The speed in which technology is developing is so many times exponentially faster than the speed of evolution. And I think our brains are already now not able to catch up with this, the speed in which the technology moving. And maybe this experience, what you just described with the, I'm here at my kitchen table, sitting, and my brain is telling me that it's just me in my kitchen, but all of a sudden I have this social experience with other people, and my brain does not know how to process that, how to understand that. I think that's a very interesting question. Is there a limit? Where is the limit? What will happen when we hit that limit between the speed in which evolution and our brains develop and the speed in which technology and the new situations like this one our human minds have been put into? It's very interesting. I don't have the answer, but I'm asking you as well. Is this something you think is relevant? Do you think this question is real? Is it relevant to you?
I think it's more than relevant because even like in 60s and 50s and before, Stanislav Lem and others, they talked about technical singularity. Mm-hmm. When tech would be so difficult to understand that most of the people will think that it's magic. And right now, most of the people, they use their phones. They don't know how your WhatsApp connecting to other person, and they don't need it. And it's kind of a black magic for them. Like, hey, bam, and you can speak to all people in the world. Social networks and other stuff. So, okay. And right now we have a new study called cyber psychology. Some companies on the market, they in their Twitter accounts, and I will not tell some names, but there are some kind of like evangelist of online. They saying like, hey, everyone should be online and remote first. This is super convenient that you can sit on the beach with your laptop and do your own business. But the thing is that most of the companies on the market, they had to switch to this approach like in a snap of a finger, like in months. And this is a problem because many companies, they have this offline culture, office culture, horizontal networks, and bam, you have to be act like you always was there, but you don't.
You are so right. The fact that companies had to switch almost from one day to another into this online and remote mode, I have to say that it has been more or less easy depending on the company. Some companies had it really hard and it was really problematic for all those reasons that you listed. What I think is more interesting, what is it that we're doing now? Right now, we are in a way emulating this way in which we were used to work. So I'm still behaving, I still have a desk and I'm sitting in the front of my computer for hours every day. And I'm pretending that we are now in a meeting room talking to each other. The whole time we are emulating this office experience that we knew from our whole life. So I'm wondering if in the future and how will this be reinvented? Because given the fact that we had to change the way we work from one day to another, we simply didn't have a time to come up with the way to work in these new circumstances. We just took what we knew and just put it in this new environment, and we're pretending everything is fine. People are breaking all around, right? So I'm curious, what will be this new way of working? Even if these companies say, oh, it's so great, you can work from the beach and online. And I have to say, remote work, I enjoyed, it's working for me quite well. But I'm a hostage of my desk and my computer. And I'm wondering if, how can I be productive? This is something that occupies me because all that, beach, online, remote, talent acquisition, all that jazz, it all sounds really great, but nobody is giving me a better solution than the hostage situation that we all have, right? Because, if you want to be productive, you invest time and we're just doing everything that we did for years.
Most of the things that we used to have is connections and quick answers. Because in the whole point of being in the office, for example, in open space, is that you can go there, speak to people, and get more information in 1 minute than just writing emails, Slacks, and other stuff. And we don't have this connect. We pretend that we still have these connections. The amount of connections between people are not that big, so people can work autonomously for days, or maybe for weeks. And of course, in this schema, it's easier to don't have these connections and maybe post a Slack message once per week. But many companies, they used to these quick responses, and sometimes you you're jumping on your chair like. Someone is typing again. I wanted to work on doing my own business, and you cannot set yourself away because, like in the office, if you set yourself away, you always know that in case of an urgency, you can someone will go to you in person, and you will be notified. But with everything online, with sitting at your home, I don't know about you, but I feel personally that I'm a little bit cheating. That life is going somewhere, like office life or work life, and I'm here kind of like cheating, or I'm kind of like a low performer or something like this, and I should answer to all emails, to all Slack messages right now, because otherwise, like I'm not doing my business well.
This kind of effects that we will see on ourselves and our colleagues, that we will see in principle in the workforce are yet to be observed. We are still we're all at our houses coping the best way we can, and nobody really knows what is the price that we paid or that we're paying. If you say that you feel like slacker unless you respond to everything and everybody at all times, if you say that, and if I take into account the fact that most of the people that I spoke with, everybody's logging in more time in work than before. Everybody has at least an hour more every day than they had before. So I'm inclined to connect the two and to say that this inclination, it's not because I don't have anything else to do, Evgeny. There are many things to do outside of being the hostage of my computer, right? But the fact that I don't, that I actually sit and this sound of Slack messages, I have to admit, my manager once asked me, it's past 10 p.m., what are you doing online now? I think we are yet to see, and that's another interesting topic for you as a student of psychology. I think we are yet to see the price that we will pay for this.
And actually, this is the smooth transition to our topic with the international working and like how it is. Because you are, right now we are in Prague, right?
Yes, right now I am in Prague.
Yeah, and you said that you moved from Germany.
Yes, before Prague I was in Germany.
Yeah, but originally you are from...
I'm Serbian, originally from Belgrade, yes.
Can you feel the cultural differences or any kind of a difference in countries, or maybe you can recall any funny story connected to that?
I think there is a difference, definitely, but maybe it's interesting to talk about the similarity. I think I was lucky to find in every country and in every culture that I worked with, there was one thing that people had in common, and that is the work ethics and the ambition. I was lucky in my career to always or almost always work with people who cared about what we did together. So this is something I found no matter the culture. And I think that the difference, if we want to avoid those stereotypes, which in the end are and should be treated as stereotypes only, there is one trait that I found the more I would move towards the east. And that was some kind of readiness to risk. You know that moment when you look at your engineer and you ask them, hey, is this going to work? And they look at you, it should. So what do you do as a product manager? But the fact is that it did every time. And this little margin of risk that I've noticed people in some cultures are willing to take. Very curious, how do you hear this, what I just told you?
There is one term in Latin, it's called habitus.
Habitus, yes, habitus. Yes. It
means that the same species can be different from the because of the environment. And one guy, Pierre Bourdieu, he kind of mapped this habitus to people, to human species. And back in the days, the researchers of poverty and poor people were super popular. Scientists tried to understand why people are poor, why there are like rich people and poor people. Pierre Bourdieu said that, for example, rich people, they tend to risk more because they have, for example, if you're a poor person, if you risk, for example, you start your own business, right? Start, I don't know, your own bakery. If you lose it, you can lose your life because you can die because of the hunger. And if you're rich, you have this big amount of, I don't know, you have rich parents or something like this. So, for example, in countries where more social countries or maybe more rich countries, you can risk more because if you, for example, lose your job, okay, you will not die at least. You can find another job, or I don't know. If you lose your job in Berlin as a developer, you can go there on the streets and HRs will hunt you because good developer is really hard to find. So maybe it's connected. I don't know.
I think it is actually this habitus of not everything was scarcely available at all times. So you needed to be creative when solving problems. And given that you had to work with resources that might not be the best for this type of a problem, or you might not have all you need, enough of what you need, etc. You just had to somehow stitch it together to make it work. And I think it's this habitus of it. Let's just try and see. The creativity, let's say, in the way you solve problems and in the way you observe the world around you. You see this extra margin of opportunity maybe, and then you take this extra risk. I'm not sure, but I think it's an interesting question. Where does it come from? And I think Habitus is a very good first step to start thinking about what is this.
There is a book by Erin Meyer, really nice book. It's called Culture Map: Breaking Through the Invisible Boundaries of Global Business. And they use this model. They map countries and people from those countries on some kind of a scale, and there are like 7, I think. So, and of course, again, you never should be biased against any cultures. Like, hey, Germans, they are like this, or Czech, they are like this. There are some differences, but they are more on the people side than just culture.
This whole idea of 7 categories and mapping people, it's like intuitively doesn't ring well with me. But if you say it's worth it, I think there are probably some good ideas in this. The fact that this is taught, this topic. The cross-cultural psychology is taught, for example, at faculties of economy. I was in Hamburg. I was a guest lecturer once on this course to speak about this topic as well. The fact that it's taught, that it exists in this shape, tells us that this is important. There is something over there, but I think one also has to have quite critical view on all that and make things out of this that are as objective and in the end as useful as possible.
What do you think? What are main changes, or what is the main direction in like tech or product or this IT world we should expect? For example, I see that right now the whole industry is not the same as it was 5 or 10 years ago. More new people come. The input, the learning curve is different, because back when I was studying engineering, it was way harder because in the internet there was not that many articles, schools or courses or whatever. Right now you can learn machine learning in a week, at least at some level. You can experiment with that with the snap of a finger, with the tools, instruments. Again, online, everything is remote. What's gonna be with the industry in 5-10 years?
Widespread access to the internet is something that is the foundation and that will dictate anything that we will see. Just the fact that everything is accessible to virtually everyone at the speed, such rapid speeds, is something that will have to have an impact that I don't think I can imagine it today from where I stand or sit in this case. You also mentioned machine learning. I think we are yet to see what does this mean exactly, how we can use it for what, and how big of a role this will play in everything that we do in this industry in 5 years. I think this is another thing where I don't think, at least I can imagine what this will be like, but this is the second trend. I think that if we say industry-wise, not just IT, but in general, I think in the past 5 or so years, we've seen some movement and some shift in finance, in the industry of finances, with so many startups doing different things, Bitcoins, all this movement in that area. I think what's coming, what has to come, there's no way that something will not happen in the next 5 years, is health. And how will the health industry be maybe reinvented, disrupted with the industry that you and I are working in? And this will be something very, very interesting to observe. Maybe already with now with the whole vaccine discourse, let's call it a discourse. I don't know how else to call discourse. It. Maybe this will be the initial ping that will set this health industry on a journey of reinvention. I don't know, but I think something will have to happen there. So those are my few bullet points that come to my mind immediately. I think it will be exciting. I hope it will be for the good and for the better.
It was a really nice message to end and for our show. And thank you very much, Daniejela. It was a pleasure to have you here. And I hope to see you in future. And thank you all to watching us, and see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.